It was a quiet Tuesday morning in the sunny suburbs of Crestwood Estates. The air smelled faintly of fresh-cut grass, and the chirping of birds carried across neat rows of manicured lawns. Emily Carter, a 38-year-old Navy veteran with long blonde hair and an easygoing smile, stood on the front porch of her modest single-story home, sipping coffee from her favorite Proud to Serve mug. She had moved into the neighborhood 3 months ago, looking for peace after years of service. Her house was simple: white siding, blue shutters, and a small garden she tended herself. It wasn't fancy, but it was hers. For Emily, Crestwood Estates had seemed perfect. Quiet streets, friendly neighbors, and the occasional wave from kids riding bikes. The only shadow on the otherwise perfect picture was the Homeowners Association. Emily had heard stories from other veterans about HOAs, some good, some downright terrifying. But so far, her only interaction had been a polite welcome letter and a thick binder of community rules she never really read in detail. That would turn out to be her first mistake. One Friday morning, Emily woke up early to put up the American flag in her front yard. She had done this countless times in the Navy. Raising the flag was second nature to her. She mounted it on a sturdy pole, making sure it was at the proper height and in perfect condition. That afternoon, she found a bright orange slip of paper taped to her door. HOA violation notice. Reason: unauthorized flag display. Remove within 48 hours to avoid fines. Emily blinked in disbelief. Unauthorized? She reread the notice 3 times, convinced it had to be some kind of mistake. That evening, she walked to the HOA office, a small brick building near the entrance of the subdivision, and knocked. The door swung open, revealing Karen Whitfield, the HOA president, a woman in her late 50s with a sharp bob haircut, a floral blouse, and the permanent facial expression of someone smelling something bad. "Can I help you?" Karen asked flatly, not bothering to hide her annoyance. "Yes," Emily said, keeping her voice calm. "I think there's been a mistake. I got this notice about my flag." Karen cut her off. "No mistake. The HOA has strict rules about exterior decorations, and flags require pre-approval. Yours was not approved." Emily frowned. "It's the American flag. I served in the Navy for 12 years. I didn't think—" "Rules are rules," Karen said with a shrug. "You'll need to take it down. If you want to reapply, fill out Form 14B and wait for board review, which can take up to 90 days. Emily took a deep breath, deciding not to push it yet. But something in Karen's smug smile made her blood boil. The next week, Emily was out walking her golden retriever, Max, when she noticed Karen following her at a distance. Max was well-trained and always on a leash, but Karen marched up the street, pulled out a phone, and started taking pictures. "Is there a problem?" Emily asked. "Your dog is in violation," Karen said. "This is an HOA-maintained sidewalk, and pets are not allowed to relieve themselves on common property." Emily glanced at the grass. "I have dog waste bags. I clean up after him." "Doesn't matter. The rules are clear." Karen snapped a picture and walked off without another word. By the time Emily got home, she had an email from the HOA. "Second violation. Pet conduct. Fine, $50. Emily clenched her fists. This was starting to feel personal. 2 days later, Emily attended the monthly HOA meeting to address her concerns. The small community hall was packed with residents sitting on folding chairs. At the front, Karen sat at a long table with 2 other board members. When Emily stood up to speak, Karen leaned forward, her face flushed red. She slammed her hand on the table, pointed directly at Emily, and shouted, "You are a constant rule breaker and a threat to this community's order." Gasps filled the room. A few neighbors exchanged uncomfortable glances. The pointing finger, the angry face, it was pure drama. Emily simply smiled and sat back down. But inside, she was planning her next move. Spring rolled in, and Emily decided to plant a small vegetable garden in her backyard. Tomatoes, peppers, cucumbers. It wasn't visible from the street, but somehow Karen found out. A week later, another violation notice appeared. Unauthorized agriculture. Gardens require board approval to prevent pest attraction. Emily realized Karen had been entering her backyard without permission. That was illegal, and Emily now had the leverage she needed. Over the next month, Emily installed small security cameras around her property. It didn't take long to catch Karen in the act, stepping onto her lawn, peeking over fences, and even taking pictures through her windows. Emily also started talking to her neighbors. She discovered that Karen had fined one family for having a baby stroller on their porch, another for using a slightly off shade of beige paint, and yet another for having a mailbox that was too modern. This wasn't about rules. It was about control. So when the next HOA meeting came around, Emily arrived early with a laptop, a projector, and a calm smile. The room was full again, and Karen sat at the front, confident as ever. Emily stood, cleared her throat, and said, "Before we begin, I'd like to show the board and the community something important." One by one, she played the video clips. Karen trespassing, peeking into windows, taking invasive photos. The room erupted in murmurs. Karen's face went pale. This is illegal surveillance," she sputtered. "No," Emily said evenly. "This is my property, and I have the right to record trespassers, including you." Gasps filled the room. Within a week, Karen resigned as HOA president. Multiple residents petitioned for new leadership, and Emily was unanimously elected as the new president. Her first order of business, she tore up the most ridiculous rules, including the flag restriction. Flags of all kinds were now allowed without prior approval. Max, her golden retriever, became the unofficial mascot of Crestwood Estates. And Karen, she moved away quietly, her reign of petty power finally over.